A very good evening and welcome to European Athletics live coverage of BRNŠNSKA LAọng KA Olympia. This is the 29th edition of what is now a World Athletics Continental Tour Silver meeting. It's taking place in the Czech city of Brno. And a lot, as you can see, there is the start list for the one elite event we have this evening. It is a women's high jump and many of the world's best have come for it from 11 different countries. And of course, very familiar names there towards the top. Two of the Australians who've been up there mixing it, winning medals on the international stage and going beyond 2 meters. Of course, Nicola Olieslagers and Eleanor Patterson. They will be heavily favoured to come out on top this evening, but there's plenty of very strong competition going up against them. Among them, last year's champion, Morgan Lake of Great Britain. She jumped 193 in Brno last year, and she'll be hoping for a repeat of that or better this evening. Ümke Onnen there, the German, in the middle of that first half of the lineup. She has been in outstanding form as well this year, clearing a personal best recently at the Tag der Überflieger of 197. So we're just about 3 or 4 minutes away from the beginning of this competition. There has been a number of various high jump competitions ongoing throughout the afternoon, but now it's time for the elites. And I believe there's 17 of them in total, if everyone is present and correct. And the venue is just in front of the Centre Brno shopping centre, the Olympia Brno shopping centre. So probably plenty of commuters wandering by will be having a look, and they'll be treated to the sight of some of the world's best female high jumpers. As I mentioned, Nicola Olieslagers, hugely accomplished Australian, 28 years old now. Been over 2:03 at her best. She has been over 2:01 already this year though. As we see a shot of some of the crowd there. It is a beautiful evening in Brno, 27 degrees, slight breeze, pretty much ideal what you would want for a lot of these jumpers. Although certainly with the heat you wouldn't want to be sitting out too long, but they're all experienced at this point. A number of athletes in this field who have populated world and Olympic finals over the years, and indeed European finals. As I mentioned, Olieslagers and Patterson will be two of the heavily favoured athletes here, but Yulia Levchenko of Ukraine, Morgan Lake of Great Britain, Ümke Onnen of Germany, and the likes even of Charity Hufnagel of USA, Buse Savishkan of Turkey, Yulia Chumachenko of Ukraine. They will all be looking to put it up to them and get high into those 190s if possible. As I mentioned, Morgan Lake took victory at this event last year with 193 ahead of Eleanor Patterson, who finished 3rd. And Yulia Chumachenko was also in last year's event. She finished 4th then. Going back to 2023, Nicola Olieslagers did take victory with a 199 clearance. But the meeting record, the one a lot of these women would love to go over this evening, belongs to, of course, the great Jaroslava Mahuchik. 3 years ago now, where she cleared 2:03 at the BRNŠNSKÁ LAọng KA Olympia meeting. And it's time for some introductions. First up, it is Nicola Olieslagers of Australia, hugely accomplished. World Indoor Champion in 2024 and 2025. In the red there, that is Laura Zialer of Great Britain. She's 191 clearance at her best, but she's coming back from rough Achilles injury, ruptured her Achilles a couple of years ago. Alexandra Harrison of Australia, the 21-year-old from New South Wales. She has a PB of 186. Just finished her education, doing a BA in Exercise and Sports Science. This is Antonia Glenka of the Netherlands, the 25-year-old from Leiden Athletic. Personal best of 187. Then it is Stiliana Yanadu of Cyprus, the 21-year-old, has a best of 188. That was set just a couple of weeks ago in Hania. Asia Davernini will be one to watch as well. She's wearing the familiar colours of the police student group, the Fiamme Oro sports group, based in Padua. And now we're moving up the heights in terms of personal bests. LAong. Emily Whelan of Australia has cleared 191 at her best, the 25-year-old. Buse Savaskan of Turkey is another who will feature very strongly here, I have no doubt. There is Yulia Chumachenko of Ukraine, who has a best of 194, though that dates back to 2018. She competed at the Europeans last year in Rome, went out in qualification there. This is Charity Huffnagel of USA, and she is hyped for this one. She was known as Charity Griffith, of course, before getting married in 2023. And she has a best of 194. Next, an athlete who's having a breakthrough year at the age of 30, Imke Onnen. I watched her in Essen in Germany soar over 197 just a few weeks ago. 6th at the World Indoors this year, 6th at the European Indoors. And is certainly bringing that form to the outdoor season. The very familiar face of Yulia Levchenko, 27 years old now, but she's been on the scene at elite level for a long time. 202 is her best. It dates back to 2019 in Minsk. She has a season's best of 194. Next up, from Great Britain, Morgan Lake, the 28-year-old, who has also been on the elite scene for a long time. It's now 11 years since Morgan Lake did the double at the World Under-20 Championships, winning the high jump and the heptathlon on consecutive days. It was a phenomenal performance, and she's done some great things at senior levels over the years as well. This is Eleanor Patterson. She will certainly be one of the favourites this evening. Has a best this year of 197. Her best overall dates back to 2022. That was 202. And finally, last but by no means least, Nicola Ollislagers of Australia. The 28-year-old has a season's best of 201. That was in Stockholm just recently. And her personal best is still 203, which she first cleared in Eugene, the Diamond League over there, back in September 2023. So Ollislagers last to be introduced, but she will hope that it stays that way as well during the competition, that she's the last one out there. So often it is. And she's had that great rivalry with Yaroslava Mahuchik in recent years that continues to go on, both on the circuit and the championship level. But she's got a very strong field facing her this evening, does Nicola. And you have to imagine perhaps her chief threat could come from her compatriot Eleanor Patterson. As you see there, the world rankings. Ollislagers has been in great form so far this year. She won, of course, the world indoor title, but she's been on a bit of a winning streak recently, has Ollislagers. Hengelo, Stockholm, Paris, 2 Diamond Leagues and a Continental Tour gold meeting. She's won her last 3 competitions, and of course was the champion in Brno back in 2023. Her longtime coach, Matt Horsnell, been working with her now for about 17 or 18 years, I think it is, so has guided her to a very brilliant career at senior level. World indoor champion last year and this year, 2-time Olympic silver medalist in Paris and Tokyo. And I'm sure Ollislagers will be looking towards the big one in Tokyo later this year, hoping to get that world gold medal. She has them indoors. She has a bronze medal already outdoors, but she'll be searching for a big one there.
Julia Levchenko jako jedna z favoritek, která začne hned na úvodní výšce 174 cm. Oproti tomu Nicola Ollislagers půjde do soutěže až na 1,90 m. Až 5. postupná výška pro dvojnásobnou mistryni světa a dvojnásobnou stříbrnou olympijskou medailistku.
So it's go time at 174.
velmi rozdílná.
And it looks like LAong will be stepping up first.
Komentátory velkým oříškem, protože závodnice si
Some of the others just taking a rest there,
nejzaší možnou chvíli. Ještě skočí
trying their best to stay out of the sun. It's a warm evening, but as you can see from that flag, it is a windy evening also in Brno, which should give them a little bit of refreshment amid the conditions, but generally pretty good conditions for high jumping. And we'll see how high these ladies can go this evening. Starting height will be 174, and I'd be surprised to see Holly Slagers and Patterson come in really perhaps in the high 180s. LAong there, 26-year-old British athlete. As I mentioned, her personal best 191 was cleared at altitude in Nairobi 3 years ago now, but LAong unfortunately missed all of the 2024 season due to that ruptured Achilles at the European Team Championships 2 years ago.
Dámy a pánové, dobré odpoledne a jdeme na to. První pokusy 174 cm. Zdara Pezinková, AC Pardubice.
Tu výšku 174 pokud se
Perhaps now it is in fact Zara Pizinkova of Czechia who will be the first to attempt 174, a 20-year-old. She has a best indoors of 186. Her outdoor PB is 184. And just a few days ago in Prague, she went over season's best outdoors of 183. She is the reigning Czech indoor champion. And let's see if she can go over 174. First time of asking. No issues at all. She gave it a bit of a brush on the way over. A few nervous moments on that mat, but Pizinkova is up and over 174. Now let's see if LAong can do the same. Season's best 176. Yeah, no mistakes at all there. First attempt. Well done to LAong. It is perhaps the worst injury you could get as a high jumper, is a ruptured Achilles tendon. It really is a nasty one. I've known some jumpers who've had it, and it is a very long process to come back from, but well done to LAong going through that hardship over the last couple of years, and great to see her back jumping up into the 170s, and no doubt she'll be looking towards the 180s before long. And it is Klara Krejcikova, the 23-year-old, goes over 174 the first time of asking. Now, Alexandra Harrison of Australia, first try for her at 174. This should be pretty comfortable for her. She has been over 186. And yeah, gave that plenty of height, and you could see there was ample space over the bar there as Harrison goes clear at the first attempt. Now it is the turn of Styliana Ianadu, the 21-year-old Cypriot. Competes for the gymnastics club Olympia. Good speed on the approach there. And indeed it is converted to vertical height, and Styliana Ianadu sails clear 174 the first time of asking. And it is over to the Italian, Asia Tavernini, first try for her at 174. She's from the Riva del Garda region, north of Italy. Oh, and that was close, but it just trickles off, so second attempt will be upcoming for Tavernini. Next, it is the Swede, LAong KA. She's a two-time Swedish champion in the high jump. All of 10 years ago now, she won a European under-20 bronze medal, but still repping those Swedish colours on the international stage. Competed last year at the Europeans in Rome. Let's see what she can do here. 174. Easy for Ekholm. She's off the mark.
A teď tady máme dvě vynechávky.
Ano, Julia Čumačenko, to je další závodnice. Ukrajinská reprezentantka.
Ekholm has a best of 191. That was cleared indoors, but her outdoor PB is 188. Now it is the turn of Yulia Chumachenko, who finished 4th in this competition last year. Let's see if she can go clear here. 174 first attempt, yeah, and it is an easy clearance for the 30-year-old Ukrainian. Has a best of 194, which dates back to 2018, but no mistakes there for Chumachenko. Goes clear. First time of asking a 174. So still very early days in the BRNŠNSKÁ Olympia, the 29th edition of this meeting. It is, of course, a World Athletics Continental Tour silver level meeting. And now the first sight of Yulia Levchenko at what I believe is 174. Let's see if the Ukrainian can get over this and join her compatriots. Yeah, no mistakes there for Levchenko. Easy as you like.
Podívali jsme se, že tato dáma začíná na 174 cm. Je to tam a my jdeme na druhý pokus na 170.
And that looks like everyone who's going to attempt 174, and everyone has gone cleared the first attempt except Asia Tavernini. So a second attempt upcoming for the 23-year-old Italian up-and-comer. She did go over a PB of 192 just recently in Brescia. So as you can see, 174 should be no hassle, just a little blip on the first attempt, but made the necessary correction, and Tavernini goes clear and joins the others.
První úvodní základní výšku tady máme za sebou a jdeme dál. Další postupná výška by měla být 179 cm a tam nám do závodu přibydou dvě závodnice.
So the bar will now be going up, I believe, to 177 will be next. Officials just checking, making sure the very center of that bar is at the necessary height. And we'll be fast approaching 177 soon. And I'm sure some of the bigger guns in this event, some of the more accomplished, will still be holding fire, I'm sure, until the mid-180s. The likes of Oli Schlagers. But Zara Pezinkova is next up, having cleared 174 at the first time of asking. Let's see if the Czech athlete can keep the good times rolling here at 179 it is now. First time failure.
Na 179 cm se nám představí britská reprezentantka, která v roce
No joy there for Pezinkova, the 20-year-old who has a best of 186 and is the reigning Czech indoor champion. And now it's the turn of Laura Zialer, the 26-year-old British athlete. 179. This would be a season's best. Her previous best this year, 176. Close, very close there for Laura Zielor, but doesn't quite come off for her, but she'll have two more tries of 179. Next up, it's Klára Krejčířová, the 23-year-old Czech athlete, second at the National Indoor Championships to Pezinkova earlier this year, and competing in Czechia. Let's see what she can produce here at 179. Yeah, not quite there for her.
představí na výšce 179 cm Australanka Alexandra Harrison. Jak jsem říkal, velmi čerstvý osobák z 8. června, 186 cm. To je o 7 cm.
Next up from Australia, the 21-year-old Alexandra Harrison, who is headed to the World University Games next month, and she's been fundraising her way around Europe and indeed to get to those. Oh, and no joy there at 179, but 2 more attempts await for the 21-year-old.
No a uvidíme. Vstup do závodu si na této výšce naplánovala i dvojnásobná šampionka Holandska. S námi Glenka Antonia.
So Pazinkova, Zialor, Krejcikova and Harrison all failing their first attempts at 179. Let's see if Antonia Glenka can be the first to go clear here. Comes in, just about stays on, but all that matters is that it does stay on, and Glenka goes clear at 179, first time of asking for the Dutch athlete.
První úspěšný pokus na 179 cm. Předvede ho teď Kypřanka Styliana Ijenedou. Necháme se překvapit. Předchozí pokus.
Next up, Styliana Ijenedou, the 21-year-old,
Uvidíme, co teď 179.
has a best of 188. Back in 2021, she was the World Under-20 bronze medalist. Good speed on the approach, and she goes clear at 179. Impressive first-time clearance for Ijenedou.
A míříme do Itálie. 7. na mistrovství Evropy juniorů do 23 let. Čerstvý osobák
Next up, it's Asia Tavernini,
Asia Tavernini.
and she needed 2 attempts to go over 174. Let's see if she can get over 179 at the first try. As I mentioned, that PB just set a few weeks ago in Brescia, 192. Oh, and just came down on top of the bar there. She certainly had the height, but perhaps just a little adjustment needed for Tavernini, who records first time failure at 179. But it's still very early days, and I'm sure we'll have her eyes set on bigger bars soon. This is LAong of Sweden, the 29-year-old. Competes for the Ulevi FK club. Was a student at the University of Kentucky over in the NCAA in the US for a number of years. Graduated in 2021. She has the best this season of 188. That was just a couple of weeks ago in Poland. Here she is at 179. First try for LAong, no success there.
No a jedeme dál. Vítáme v soutěži reprezentantku Austrálie. S námi Emily Wheelanová, mistryně Austrálie. No a její jmenovkyně Emily Wheelanová je zároveň i irská velmi famózní.
So it looks like Emily Whelan of Australia will be next up to try 179.
Na Irsku druhá. Austrálii.
Just counting back there with the steps to put her marker in the right spot.
Maxima na 1,91 cm. Mistryně Austrálie Emily Wheelanová.
This is Whelan's first jump of the competition. Can it be a successful one for the Australian? No. He just took off a bit far away from that bar. Was kind of coming down on it. But 2 more attempts await if needed for Emily Whelan of Australia, the 25-year-old, who was 3rd at the Australian Championships in Canberra earlier this year. Has a best of 191, that dates back 2 years. Now, Buse Savishkan of Turkey, the 26-year-old, who has a best of 192. This is her opening jump of the competition. She was 10th in the Olympic final last year, was Savishkan. And as you can see, the class tells there as she goes over 179 with the utmost ease.
Pokračujeme dál. 30letá rodečka z ukrajinského Mykolajeva.
Next up, Yulia Chumachenko of Ukraine.
87, a to v Kyjevě.
As I mentioned, fourth in this last year. Back in 2019, Chumachenko was the World University Games champion. Competed at the Europeans in Rome last year as well. Went out in qualification there. Here she is at 179, first attempt. Yeah, no trouble there for Chumachenko. Just coasts over that. And she'll be looking towards the 180s very soon. And you'll hear the commentator say that next up on the runway is Yulia Levchenko of Ukraine. 27 years old. Her best this season, 194. That was at the What Gravity Challenge in Doha. 179 here. First try for the Ukrainian star. And indeed, no mistakes made there. She coasts over that bar. And Yulia Levchenko off to a good start this evening with first-time clearances at admittedly the modest heights of 174 and 179. Now it's the turn of Zara Pezinkova of Czechia. This is her second attempt, so we've seen all the athletes we will be seeing at 179. Pezinkova went over 174 the first time of asking. She has a best this year of 183. She jumped at just in Prague last week. Not quite there for her on the second try, so one last attempt awaiting for Zara Pezinkova, who is the Czech indoor champion. But now it's over to the Briton, Laura Zialor. Looking for that season's best. She's already been over 176, that was in Berlin. But having missed all of 2024, I'm sure she's just glad to be back jumping, back competing. It's great to see her back. And I'm sure she would love to go over 179 here, which would be a big season's best for Zialor. Second try for the Briton. Not quite there for her on that attempt, but she'll have one more try to stay in this competition. Klára Krejčířová, the 23-year-old, she is now taking her second try at 179. Krejčířová has a best of 189. That was set indoors, but she's never been beyond 182 outdoors. She jumped that last summer. And yeah, just bailed out on that jump pretty early as soon as she left the ground, really. So a second time failure there for Krejčířová. And next up, it's going to be Alexandra Harrison of Australia. Second attempt for her at 179. Has the same coach as Nicola Olislagers, so I'm sure they know each other well, sparring partners in training. And that is a brilliant clearance there by Alexandra Harrison. Personal best is 186. That was just a couple of weeks ago in Taipei. So a brilliant clearance there at 179. Next up, Asia Tavernini. Second attempt upcoming for the Italian. And she makes no mistake. Well done, Asia Tavernini. Made the necessary adjustments and goes clear at 179. It is a height she would very much have expected to clear this evening, having jumped a PB of 192 just recently. But thinking it and doing it are so often two different things in this sport. And Asia Tavernini stays in the competition with that clearance. Next up, LAong KA of Sweden, the 29-year-old from the Ulevi club. Let's see if she can get over this. Oh, that was very, very close for LAong. Unfortunately, the bar just drifts off, so that's a second time failure for LAong. One last chance awaiting for the Swede, who has a best indoors of 191, outdoors 188. As I mentioned, European Under-20 bronze medalist all of 10 years ago. Looks like Emily Whelan of Australia is going to be next up. Whelan has already recorded one failure at 179. And the 25-year-old just composes herself for a few moments, looks up at that bar. Cleared 187 recently to finish third in LAingen in Germany. Just floats up to the bar and not quite there for Whelan on that attempt, but one chance remaining. She will need 179 at the third attempt to stay in this competition. Very, very close there. That was to a clearance, but not quite aligned perfectly. But it's a height Emily Whelan is certainly capable of going clear. So, the state of play is that we have Asia Tavernini, Stiliana Yanadu, Antonia Glenka, and Alexandra Harrison have all gone clear. And we are now looping back to the athletes who have two failures. There's 5 of them: Emily Whelan, Ellen Ekholm, Klara Krejcikova, and Laura Zialer. And of course, this lady here, Zara Pezinkova of Czechia, the 20-year-old, has a best this season of 183. So she will have fancied her chances, the Czech indoor champion, going clear at 179, but it's not quite there for her. And absolute frustration there for Pezinkova. She bows out. The first one to bow out of the competition. The Czech indoor champion couldn't quite get over 179 the third time of asking, although it was close. And next up, for a third and final attempt at 179, it is Laura Zialor. Zialor represented Britain at so many events internationally, from World Championships to European Championships, and indeed competed at the Commonwealth Games as well. That horrible injury back in 2023 really interrupted her progress, but it's brilliant to see her back. And here she is, third attempt for Zialor at 179, and it's not to be, unfortunately. The red flag goes up, the bar comes down, and she gives the crowd a warm round of applause to say thanks, but unfortunately her competition is over. She bows out with a best on this evening of 174. Next up, Klara Krejcikova of Czechia. Third and final attempt for her. Back in 2019 it was, she soared over 189 at the age of just 16. Really is a big talent. But the only height that matters now is 179. Third and final attempt for her, and that was not quite there. And again, you could just see her opt out of that jump really as soon as she left the ground. So, not a night she'll look back on too fondly, but nonetheless a 174 clearance for Krejcikova. Can't quite go over 179, so she also bows out along with Zialor and Pezinkova. And let's see if the same fate will await for the Swede, Ellen Ekholm. Third and final attempt for Ekholm at 179. She did clear 188 already this season, just a couple of weeks ago in Poland, three or four weeks ago now. And she's got it, 179, clutch jumping from the Swedish 29-year-old. She goes clear, stays in the competition. Third time clearance for Ekholm.
Závěrečný třetí pokus pro Australanku.
So next up, it's the Australian Emily Whelan, the 25-year-old from New South Wales.
Půlroční pauzou kvůli vyhoření.
And again, we just see her.
Připravuje se na mistrovství
She's done that on a few jumps, just making some adjustments. She looks like she's counting back from her previous mark. Not sure if she's extending her run up or she's just making sure that mark is in the right position.
Už tam má nějakých 3,5 tisíce dolarů.
Centimeters at this level certainly do matter in terms of exactly where that foot placement is. You want to be the optimum distance away from the bar to make sure your high point is right over the bar and not ahead or behind it. So it's a pressure moment here for Emily Whelan. After 2 failures, can she go clear? The 3rd attempt at 179. Yes, she can. Whelan goes clear. Brilliant clearance. And whatever she did with the adjustments to that run up paid dividends. Whelan goes clear and stays in the competition.
V téhle chvíli za námi.
Ano, souhlas.
Takže posouváme na 184 cm a jako první jste
So that is the end of the action at 179.
za 174 dala. Na první pokus 179.
And you can see there Morgan Lake just doing her final bits of warming up. I'm sure she'll be entering the competition quite soon.
Tak tedy třetí postupná výška. Tady se nám přidají 3 závodnice, pokud Tonda souhlasí.
Nejenom já, ale
And just to get you up to date, because
I rozhodčí
we're not seeing too many graphics, but we have lost 3 athletes so far. Klara Krejcirikova, Laura Zialor and Zara Pizinkova.
na stejném
And there are still 14 athletes left in this.
končí Zdara Pezinková, Laura
Among them
i Klára.
is Alexandra Harrison there, who went over 179 at the 2nd attempt. And here we are now at 184, so things are going to get very serious very quickly.
a její první pokus.
First try then for Alexandra Harrison at 184. Her lifetime best, 186. It's not quite there for her on the first attempt.
Bohužel první pokus na 184 cm nevyšel.
Jedeme dál. Osobák 187 cm. Skočila v loňském roce na domácí půdě v Holandsku.
Next up,
Dvojnásobná šampionka Holandska, jednou v hale, jednou pod otevřeným nebem. Glenka
Antonia Glenka of the Netherlands has a best this season of 182, and her personal best was set on home turf in Hengelo last year, 187. So 184 is going to be a tough distance for Glenka to get over, but she's very capable of it. Silver medal at the Dutch Indoor Championships earlier this year. And here she is. First try for Glenka, 184. Not quite there for her.
zatím tedy bohužel ne. První pokus 184 zatím nevychází.
Liliana Ionedou. Třetí na mistrovství Evropy do 20 let. Dnes
Next up, it's the Cypriot Stiliana Yanadu, the 21-year-old, who was 3rd at the European Youth Olympic Festival a number of years ago.
Liliana Ionedou.
Attended the University of Louisville. You can see her there just lowering the center of gravity as she tried to convert that speed on the runway before exploding off the ground. Perhaps just an iffy step there. I'm not sure if that was part of her routine, but she looked to kind of stumble slightly on the 2nd or 3rd last step. But either way, the result is the same.
Italy.
Next up, Asia Tavernini. First try for the Italian at 184. And she goes clear at the first attempt. Brilliant stuff from Tavernini. Having failed her first attempts at 174 and 179, she made that look easy.
Jak to dokáže takovou Italku rozesmát?
Švédská Elena Ego.
As we see that replay of Yanadu's first time failure.
179 na třetí
Next up, Ellen Ekholm of Sweden.
centimetry. To uvidíme. Ellen
As I
Ego.
mentioned, she has a personal best of 191. That dates all the way back to 2020. But her season's best, 188, So Ekholm will feel she has this certainly within her capability. First try for her at 184. Yeah, not quite there for Ekholm on that one, unfortunately. So 2 more attempts will await if needed for Ellen Ekholm.
Jedeme dál, už jsem mluvil o velmi zajímavé závodnici, Emily Wheelanová, Austrálie, už jsem připomněl tu její sbírku na přípravu na mistrovství světa do Tokia. Nazvala ji Pomozte Emily létat. No a uvidíme, jak se jí podaří létat. Vidíte její osobák 190.
Next up, it's going to be Emily Whelan for her first try, the Australian. She needed all 3 attempts to go clear at her opening height of 179. Let's see what she can do here at 184. She did go over, as I mentioned, 187 just recently in LAingen. Emily Whelan comes in, not quite there for her on the first attempt. First time failure for Whelan, who's had many injury problems over the years. She was missed most of 2021 with injuries, but great to see her back jumping and fully healthy. Next up, it's Buse Shavashkan of Turkey, 10th in the Olympic final last year. Let's see what she can do here. First try at 184. Oh, she almost had that, did Shavashkan. So close for her, the 26-year-old. She looked to have the height. Perhaps just losing a bit of speed there towards the end. But either way, it is a first-time failure for Shavashkan, but she'll have 2 chances to get over that bar. Upcoming. Next up, Yulia Chumachenko, the 30-year-old Ukrainian, who was the World University Games champion back in 2019. Went out in qualification at the Europeans in Rome last year. And she's been over 185 already this season, just about a month ago now in Cyprus. Oh, and she just bails out of that one. So no joy there. The first try for Chumachenko, but 2 more chances await for the Ukrainian.
Tak, jestli je tam nějaká nerovnost nebo něco podobného, to by se vlastně měli možná podívat povolanější, necháme se překvapit. Zatím tedy ne, dobrá tedy, teď se nám poprvé v soutěži představí americká skokanka do výšky a také vícebojařka Charity Hufnagel.
Next up, Charity Hufnagel of the US. Her opening jump of this competition. And Hufnagel is a 194 jumper already this year in Doha, the What Gravity Challenge. This should be routine for an athlete of her capabilities, but it is not. First time failure at 184 for Hufnagel. She's been in brilliant form as Hufnagel. She was 6th recently at the Paris Diamond League and been jumping consistently in the 190s. And another athlete who's been in brilliant form is this lady, Imke Onnen of Germany, the 30-year-old who is jumping better than ever now, competing for Cologne Athletics. Said she's changed a lot with her setup. Says she's significantly happier now with the way she's got the support base, and it is shown very much in her jumping. Imke Onnen soars clear at 184, as you'd probably expect her to, first time of asking. Next up, first jump of the competition for Morgan Lake, the Briton who's been on the scene for so long now. Great year again last year, 6th at the Europeans, 6th at the World Indoors. And as you would expect from an athlete of her class, 184 proves absolutely no issue whatsoever. She goes clear, first time of asking.
dáma, která má vystudovánu státní univerzitu tělovýchovy a sportu na Ukrajině, velmi aktivní na sociálních sítích.
LAC has made some changes over the last year. She was coached by Robbie Grabart towards the Olympics, but currently working with Yannick Tregaro. And it certainly looks to be in good form earlier on in the season so far. 195 clearance already for LAC. But now it's the turn of Yulia Levchenko, the well-known Ukrainian. Let's see what she can produce here. And she goes clear. Excellent clearance there for Levchenko at 184. First time of asking. So no issues there for Levchenko. He's had mixed form, I guess, in recent years. Her personal best, 202, dates all the way back to 2019. But signs of life for sure already this year. 194 clearance in Doha. Levchenko clawing her way up through the 190s again. And it's still very, very early in the season. But now it's the turn of Alexandra Harrison. Second try for her at 184. Oh, that was very close, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately, for Harrison, who just finished her studies recently in exercise and sports science. Nice to be freed up for the European summer. And now it's the turn of the Dutch jumper Antonia Glenka. The 25-year-old, she's a three-time national champion in the high jump. And we'll see what she can produce here on her second attempt at 184. This would be a season's best for Glenka if she gets over it, and she just opts out of that. She does cross the plane, so the red flag goes straight in the air. No joy there for Antonia Glenka. Second time failure at 184, so one chance left for the Dutch athlete. And this is also a second attempt for Stiliana Yanadu of Cyprus, who, as I mentioned, her personal best of 188 cleared just a few weeks ago. She was the world under-20 bronze medalist 4 years ago. And look at the speed on the runway there. Definitely the fastest jumper we're seeing on the runway, but unfortunately for her, can't quite convert it into vertical height. And that is a second time failure for Yanadu, but one try will remain for the Cypriot. Next up, from Sweden, Ellen Ekholm, from the Ulevi club. This is her second attempt at 184. See if she can join the likes of Morgan Lake and Imka Onen and Yulia Levchenko. And indeed, Asia Tavernini there, the four athletes so far to go clear at 184. And Ekholm just opts out of that one. Something obviously not right on that run up. And it's such a game of belief, the high jump. Really do have to see yourself clearing it in your mind before you do it in real life. So often see athletes standing on that runway just visualizing the last few moments before they go up and over that bar. And I think Ellen Ekholm there, just something glitching on the runway. Opted out of that second attempt, but she'll have one more try at 184. For Emily Whelan, this is her second attempt for the Australian 25-year-old. As I mentioned, she has been over 187 recently. Personal best is 191, that dates back a couple of years. And she just jogs through there. She will be able to go back and attempt if she wants to. Let's see if Whelan will do that. Yeah, she's walking quite fast there back to her mark. And it is, of course, even though it is late June, relative to a normal year, it is a little bit earlier in the season. Does still feel like May in terms of the way the season is playing out, given many athletes who are building up to those World Championships are just really getting into the thick of competition season now. And unfortunately, that is a second-time failure for Emily Whelan. But she'll have one more chance to get over 184 and join the likes of LAङ, Levchenko, Onen and Tavernini. Now with the cap applied to try and keep that sun out of her eyes, Buse Savaskan, second attempt for the Turk at 184. Competed at the European Indoors earlier this year. She went out in qualification there. But she did jump a PB of 192 last year to get into that Olympic final, and no mistake there on the second attempt for Savaskan. She goes clear. Fifth woman now to go clear at 184. And next up, second attempt for Yulia Chumachenko. The World University Games champion back in 2019. And no joy there for Chumachenko, unfortunately. Second time failure for her. Which means a number of athletes now will be preparing to take their third and final attempt. 5 athletes. There could be a sixth if Charity Hufnagel is unable to get over it. At 184, the American. Formerly of Ball State University, but transferred to the University of Kentucky. And let's see if Hufnagel can go clear at the second time of asking. Yes, she can. Brilliant stuff from Charity Hufnagel. Goes clear and becomes the 6th woman to go clear at 184. Excellent stuff from the 24-year-old. She won the US title outdoors last year, the US Olympic trials. And now it's back to a woman from down under, Alexandra Harrison. This is now a third and final attempt. So we'll have 5 athletes attempting this for the third time. And Harrison is going to be the first of them. Let's see if the Australian can get this right. This will be tough, but it's a bar she's capable of. And she gets it. Alexandra Harrison goes clear at the third attempt. Brilliant clearance there by Harrison, and she is getting very close to her PB territory now. 186 is her PB, which was set just a couple of weeks ago in Chinese Taipei. 184 successfully navigated for Alexandra Harrison. And next up, it will be Antonia Glenka, the Dutch jumper, the 25-year-old who competes for Leiden Atletiek. This would be a season's best for Glenka. 182, her previous best, about 3 weeks ago now in Poland. Her personal best, though, 187, and how delighted she would be to be in between those two with a clearance here, but unfortunately not. 184, it's a third-time failure for Antonia Glenka, and her competition comes to an end. Next up, Styliana Yanadu of Cyprus. Third and final attempt at 184. As you see there on that little graphic, she does have a best of 188. That was set just a few weeks ago in Hania. The athlete who won World Under-20 bronze all of 4 years ago. Let's see if she can get this right. Oh, it's very close, but the bar just about stays on. She gave it quite the rattle, did Yanadu, but she goes clear at the third and final attempt. And that just looked like a much better jump. It shaped like a much better jump, the way she arced her body over that bar. It was as close as it could be, while still being a successful jump, but in the end, that's all that matters. Green light, she's moving on up to the next height. So we've seen Emily Whelan of Australia making a good few adjustments with that run up right before her jump. But we'll see now if she can get this right. Third time of asking. She did go over 179 at the third attempt. Let's see if Whelan can do likewise at 184. No, not quite there for her. So a disappointing end and an abrupt end to the competition for Emily Whelan of Australia, who is a 191 jumper, but unfortunately has to make do with 179 on the night she bows out of the competition. Next up from Ukraine, it is Yulia Chumachenko, the 30-year-old. She has won the Ukrainian title in the past at the high jump, which is no mean feat. Chumachenko's best, 194, dates back 7 years now, but she's been jumping this height already this year. Just last month in Limassol she did clear 185, and for the World University Games champion in 2019 it's now all down to this 184, third attempt for Chumachenko, who finished 4th in this competition last year. And she will need to go here for showing this time. Oh, that was so close, but unfortunately it is a failure. It was very, very similar to Yanadou's effort. She gave that bar a similar level of rattle as she went over, but just a little bit too much pressure, and off it comes. And her competition, unfortunately, has come to an end. That means there's just one athlete left to attempt 184 for the third time, LAong. Or have we? Looks like we're moving on up to the next height.
Necháme se překvapit. Každopádně na místě 184, pokud dobře počítám, nám skončily 4 závodnice, takže v soutěži už nám jich pokračuje pouze 10. Na stojanech ověřených 187 cm. Zavlaje nám bílá vlaječka, která znamená, že mu můžeme skákat. Právě se tak stalo. Alexandra Harrison a její první pokus na 187 cm, což by byl osobní rekord.
So Alexandra Harrison then will be the first at our next height, which I believe is 187. And she just opts out of that.
Přece jenom 186 má osobák, myslím si, že 185, ale těch 186 je z 8. června.
Next up is the turn of Asia Tavernini. No, in fact it is Stylia Yanadou who will be first to attempt.
A její první pokus na 187, 184 dávala na třetí. Jak to bude teď? 187.
So this is very close to Yanadou's PB, 188, set just a few weeks ago. 187, first attempt. No joy there for the Cypriot. Really does generate great speed on the runway. Let's see if she can transfer all that into vertical height and go clear on her second attempt soon enough. But now it is the turn of Asia Tavernini, her first try at 187. Tavernini has gone over 192 already this season. That was just 10 days ago to win in Brescia. So she'll feel confident, but unfortunately not there for her on her first attempt at 187.
Pak tady jsou dvě závodnice, které už nás v minulém kole opustily, na minulé výšce, a teď tedy pokračujeme dál.
Next up, Buse Savaskan of Turkey. First attempt for her at 187. Savaskan has the best this season, 188. She really did have a fantastic year last year. Set her PB on home turf in Izmir at 192. And of course making that Olympic final, what an achievement that was. And Savaskan goes clear, shows her class there with a first time clearance at 187. Next up, Charity Hufnagel, who has been over 194, equaling her PB earlier on this year at the What Gravity Challenge, hosted by Mutaz Esar Barsham in Qatar. First time at 187 for Charity Hufnagel. And she goes clear. And she is suitably delighted with that. Brilliant clearance once again. First time of asking. Charity Hufnagel gets it right. She did say, Charity Hufnagel, her goal that she wrote in her journal going into 2024 was first attempts only. So at 187, she did actually need a second attempt at 184, but she is living up to what she wrote in her journal at 187. She will be moving on up the next height of 190. But now it's the turn of Imke Onnen, the German, who's been over 197 in recent weeks. Just clips that off with her legs, unfortunately. So first time failure for Onnen at 187. Next up, Morgan Lake, first try for the Briton at 187. And Lake, of course, has been over 195 already this outdoor season in recent weeks. 187 will nonetheless present a difficult challenge, but it's one she's more than up to. Morgan Lake soars over. She did give it a little brush, but not nearly enough to dislodge that bar. Morgan Lake goes clear, first time of asking at 187. Next up, Yulia Levchenko of Ukraine. She went clear on her first attempt at 174, 179 and 184, and now here she is at 187. Let's see what Levchenko, a 202 jumper at her best. See if she can get over 187 here. She does. First time of asking, and she is on a nice roll. 4 first-time clearances for Levchenko at the start of the competition. She was the world silver medalist back in 2017. Patterson is next up, the 29-year-old Australian. And it's time for her to make her entry to this competition at 187. She has a best of 197. She jumped that to finish second at the Australian Championships back in April. But she also jumped 197 recently in Paris. And something not quite right for her there. Just brushes that off. So, first time failure for Patterson at 187. She's based in Italy now, Patterson. She's made a coaching change as well this year, but so far so good. She's been faring well on the circuit. The 2022 world champion. But we're back now to the second attempts, and this is Alexandra Harrison, who will be the first of them making a second attempt. The 21-year-old Australian. Let's see if she can get over this. Not quite there for Harrison on the second attempt, but she'll have one more try. And remember, she did go clear at 184 on the third attempt. As I mentioned, she is getting ready for the World University Games next month and has been fundraising and crowdfunding her way to pay the expenses to get there. And an athlete, 21-year-old athlete here, Styliana Yanadu, who has experienced another form of university system, the NCAA, former student at the University of Louisville. Here she is, her second attempt at 187. And she goes clear, and it is a facile clearance there for Stylia Yanadu.
A uvidíme, jestli na druhý pokus 187.
And next up, second attempt for Asia Tavernini of Italy, representing the Polizia de Fiamma Oro sports group.
Mistrovství Evropy juniorů do 23 let.
Let's see if the athlete, the 23-year-old who did set her personal best this season at 192, can she get over 187? Not quite, and that was agonizingly close for Tavernini. That was annoyingly close, and you could see the expression as soon as she hit the mat. She had the height, maybe just her legs clipping that bar off. No joy on that attempt for Asia Tavernini, but one try remaining. And now it's the turn of Imka Onen. I mentioned she's made some changes this year. She even mentioned about how she's training just with those years of experience now behind her. She said, I also shouldn't do stupid things in training. She injured her calf, I believe, recently, but no major issues. She's in the form of her life, Imka Onen. But unfortunately, things not quite coming together for her so far this evening. That is a second-time failure for one of the athletes who would have been favoured to contend in a big way here at 187. She will have one more attempt. Next up, it's the Australian Eleanor Patterson, the 29-year-old. The 2022 world champion has been in good form around the circuit this year. From Oceania to Asia and onwards to Europe. From her own nationals to Diamond Leagues. And here on the World Athletics Continental Tour at a silver level meeting, Eleanor Patterson will hope not to follow the lead of Imka Onen and hope she can go clear. Second try at 187, and indeed she does. No issues there for the former world champion. Goes clear at 187. The next height will be 190, and given we have not yet seen Nicola Olislagers, I'm sure there's probably a good chance she will enter there. She may well wait until 193 as well. Olislagers has mentioned that really her first 5 or 6 jumps of a competition are very strong, but then sometimes it slowly goes downhill, so perhaps she will keep her powder dry and just wait until the mid 190s. But maybe we'll see her at 190, which will be the next height. But now it's the turn of Alexandra Harrison. Third and final attempt upcoming for Harrison. The 21-year-old who has the same coach as Nicola Olislagers. No, it's not quite there for Harrison. So she bows out of the competition, Harrison, with a best of 184, but she got over to the third attempt, and yeah, that wasn't even close, unfortunately, for Harrison. So her competition is at an end, and Asia Tavernini will be hoping for a very different fate here as she makes her third and final attempt at 187. As I did mention, 192, brilliant personal best just 10 days ago in Brescia. But she's on foreign soil now in Brno. Can Asia Tavernini pull it out of the fire here? Third attempt for the Italian at 187. Oh, that was so close for Tavernini. So close, but unfortunately it is frustration again for Asia Tavernini, the Italian. Her competition comes to a close with a third-time failure at 187. Now, it would be quite a surprise if Imka Onen bowed out of this competition with a best of only 184. For an athlete of her calibre, she will have wanted much more. As I mentioned, 6th at the World Indoors, 6th at the European Indoors earlier this year. She was 14th at the Olympics last year. She made it back to the top level after a year of injuries in 2023. And she's spoken about how happy she is this year with her setup, and it's translated in her performances with that 197 lifetime best earlier this month. But now she needs 187 to stay in this competition. And she's got it. Well, the true world-class operators, they know when to flick the switch. And they are calm and composed under pressure. And Imke Onnen was all of those things there as she went clear 187 at the third time of asking, and no doubt a major, major sigh of relief for the German. So, with that, the bar is about to move to 190. And the numbers are dropping significantly. We now have, we did in fact lose LAङ. She didn't take a third attempt. A little bit confused about that earlier, but she passed on her third attempt. LAङ at 184. So she's out of the competition, which means just 5 women now, no, 6 women now remain. They are Nicola Olislagers, who has yet to enter the event, Eleanor Patterson, Yulia Levchenko, Morgan Lake, Imke Onnen, and Buse Shavashkan. They are, you would have to say, 6, maybe the 6 most accomplished jumpers in the field, certainly 6 of the top 7 or 8 anyway. But of course, yes, sorry, Styliana Yanadu is also in, having gone clear at the second attempt at 187. The Cypriot will now attempt 190, which is 2 centimeters over her personal best. She jumped 188 earlier on this month, her PB. Can she soar into the 190s here? Not quite there for Yanadu. So 7 women left in the competition: Yanadu, Savaskan, Hufnagel, Onnen, Lake, Levchenko, Patterson and Olislagers. And now it's the turn of Buse Savaskan of Turkey. First attempt for her at 190. 26-year-old, an Olympic finalist last year. She was 10th there. Jumped her PB to get into that final. 192, that personal best. But here at 190, a first-time failure, unfortunately. Next up, it's going to be Charity Hufnagel. And as I mentioned at 187, how she wrote in her journal last year, first attempts only. She has a best of 194, so a first attempt clearance at 190 would be well within her wheelhouse. She equaled her personal best recently at the What Gravity Challenge in Doha. Can she produce here? The 2023 NCAA champ, first attempt at 190 for Hufnagel. Not quite there for her, unfortunately. But 2 more attempts await for a height that is certainly within her compass. First time failure though for Charity Hufnagel at 190. And now the heights are starting to get serious for a lot of these world-class women. Imke Onnen next up to try 190. First attempt for her. She was a World University Games bronze medalist back in 2019. Also made the world final that year in Doha. But as I mentioned, 2023 was really a year of injuries for her. She bounced back to finish 14th at the Olympics last year. And she just opts out of that jump pretty early on. No joy on the first try for Onnen at 190. Next up then, the British 28-year-old Morgan Lake, whose best of 199 dates back a couple of years. Her outdoor PB, that was actually done indoors, her outdoor PB is 197. That was a British under-23 record when she first jumped it in 2018. So, Morgan Lake, first attempt at 190. And it's not quite there for her, unfortunately. First time failure for Morgan Lake.
Pátý pokus na 196, myslím pátý pokus v celé soutěži. Je tu dáma.
Next up, it's going to be Yulia LAvchenko. All of 11 years ago, Yulia LAvchenko was the Youth Olympic Games champion. And she did, of course, go on to compete at the Olympics. She finished 8th in the Olympic final in Tokyo 4 years ago. She was a 2-time European under-23 champ, really one of the most prodigious high jumpers coming up. And she did get that world medal in 2017 in London. And she goes clear here. First time of asking at 190. And the good times keep rolling for LAvchenko because that is her 5th first time clearance. And she has a season's best of 190, so those are not easy heights. Sorry, 194 is her season's best. So 190 is not just an automatic clearance by any means. And now it is the turn of Eleanor Patterson. First try for her at 190. As I mentioned, she has relocated this year to Italy, where her boyfriend lives, and she's changed her coaching setup as well. She now goes off a standing 10 stride approach, and it pays dividends there. Successful clearance at the first time of asking for Eleanor Patterson. Yeah, she's spoken in an interview recently about just what changes she'd made. Instead of kind of walking into the jump from 8 strides, walking into the start of her approach, she now starts from a 10 stride standing start. And Eleanor Patterson has very much made this sort of high 190s the norm for herself, and indeed has been over 2 meters. And speaking of women who've been over 2 meters, this lady, Nicola Olislagers, has done it many, many times. She's done it already this year, and as she enters the competition, the 2-time world indoor champion makes absolutely no mistake there at 190. Easy as it gets for Olislagers. Next up, second attempt at 190 for Stiliana Yanadu of Cyprus. This would be a personal best by 2 centimeters. Her best of 188 set just a couple of weeks ago. And you can see her very much going through the self-talk ritual, the visualization ritual. Believing it first before she can achieve it, and she got close there to 190. That was a much better attempt than her first one, but ultimately it ends the same way with that bar crashing to the mat. Next up then, Buse Savashkan, the Olympic finalist last year from Turkey, 26 years old now. Lifetime best of 192 set in Izmir last year. Season's best of 188 set just a few weeks ago in Poland. This is right in the middle of them. 190, second try for the Turkish athlete. It was a solid attempt, but no joy ultimately for Savashkan, so 1 attempt left for her at 190 to join the 3 athletes who have so far gone clear at this: Yulia LAvchenko, Eleanor Patterson and Nicola Olislagers. And Imke Onnen will very much be hoping she can get it right, but it looks like first it's going to be Charity Hufnagel. As I mentioned, 2023 Hufnagel was the NCAA champion She is the reigning US outdoor champion. And she has been over 194 already this year. Second attempt here for the 24-year-old at 190. Oh, it was a very close attempt, but unsuccessful in the end for Hufnagel. But I think you could see in her reaction there that kind of frustrated smile. She knows she has that height within her, and she's got one last chance to do it. Imka Onen then will make her second attempt. Has been over 197 already this month. Personal best in Essen at the Tag der Überflieger. That was in front of her home fans. The Germans made quite the racket that evening. It's a quieter evening in Brno this evening. But Onen produces the goods nonetheless. Second time clearance at 190. She joins Yulia Levchenko, Eleanor Patterson and Nicola Olislagers at the next height, which will be 193. And this lady, Morgan Lake, will feel quite confident of being able to do that as well, no doubt. Just a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago now, she cleared 195. That remains her season's best. She took victory at the Pavo Nurmi Games in Turku, Continental Tour Gold meeting, cleared 191 there. And she did clear 194 recently at the Paris Diamond League as well. So Morgan Lake here, second try for her at 190. Oh, that was so close for Lake. I think 95% of her body was over that bar and just perhaps clipped off with her lower limbs. But it's certainly a height that Lake has cleared and can clear. But she's just got one last attempt to do it to stay in the competition. And that is also the case now for Stiliana Yanadu. As I mentioned, her personal best set just a few weeks ago in Hania, 188. She's now attempting to go 2 centimeters beyond that. Can Yanadu break new ground? Unfortunately not this evening. She bows out of the competition with a best of 187. And with that, we're down to 6. And if Buse Saraskan does not go clear here, we will be down to 5 in this competition, the BRNŠNSKÁ LAťka Olympia. Third and final attempt for the 2024 Olympic finalist in the high jump. Looking for a season's best of 190 to stay in this competition. And she's got it! Under pressure, she comes up with it. That is a brilliant jump by Buse Saraskan. As you can see there, gets plenty of support from the crowd. A brilliant clearance, a clutch clearance under pressure for Buse Saraskan. She goes clear and she will be joining the others at 193, the next height. And now, can Charity Hufnagel be inspired by that to do the same? Hufnagel, who has been over 194 already this year. That second attempt was very close. And as she goes through those little visualization techniques, she will be seeing herself go over this bar. Can she do it? Oh, that was so close. So close for Charity Hufnagel, but she bows out. Not to be, she bows out with a best of 187 on the night. And now it's pressure time for Morgan Lake. 28-year-old Briton who has a best of 199. Her best this year is 195 just a few weeks ago. Needs this. Third attempt at 190 for Morgan Lake. She's got it. She really did look to take off well away from that bar, but she had the momentum, the speed to carry her across it and looked like zero contact, and Morgan Lake will be delighted with that. Pressure moment for the Brit, but she rises to the moment and goes clear at 190 to stay in the competition.
závodnic, pokud dobře
which means we
počítám.
now have six athletes
Pardon, šest, omlouvám se, tady jsem si-
still remaining. Nikola Olislagers, Eleanor Patterson, Yulia Levchenko, Morgan Lake, Imke Onnen and Buse Savashkan.
Zatím dnes
The bar will next be moving to 193 when things will really start to get serious.
těch 190 dala na třetí. A co? 193 centimetry. Busálskan a pokus číslo 1.
Tak nastavíme správně letku, ještě rozhodčí jsou spokojení. Jinak, přátelé, poprvé v historii, 29leté nebo 28leté historii brněnské latky se 6 závodnic dostalo přes 190 cm. Už v tuto chvíli je brněnská laťka zapsána v historii tohoto meetingu a celého dění. Děkujeme moc. 190 cm pokořilo 6 závodnic.
So the bar has been moved to 193, and this would be a lifetime best for Buse Savashkan. This will challenge her in a big way. Her personal best was set in Izmir 13 months ago in Turkey. That's 192. She's never been over this height in a competition. And Buse Savashkan will now have 3 attempts to do so. Oh, and she's done it! She has done it! Buse Savashkan. She gave it a good brush as she went over it, and I think had a nervous moment or two on that mat. And she's still looking at that bar, making sure it doesn't fall. And indeed it doesn't. A moment of ecstasy for Buse Savashkan. She goes clear with a new lifetime best to really put herself into firm contention at the BRNŠNSKÁ LAťka. Brilliant. First time clearance for Buse Savashkan at 193. Now, can Imke Onnen do the same? Having gone clear at the second attempt at 190. She has, of course, been over 197 already this season, earlier this month on home turf in Essen. And she closes her eyes for a few moments, composes herself. And here she goes, Imke Onnen, first attempt for the 30-year-old German at 193. And a nervous few moments for Onnen as well, but the bar, while wobbling greatly, manages to stay on the stanchions. Imke Onnen, look, I think she hit it just about as hard as you can hit a bar and still keep it on. But it does stay on, that's all that matters. And Imke Onnen goes over 193 as well at the very first time of asking. Brilliant clearance by the German. Next up, Morgan Lake. First try for the British athlete at 193, and certainly the pressure heaped on there by Imke Onnen. And Buse Savashkan going clear at the first attempt. Next height will be 196, really getting up there. So the amount of failures could be crucial here. Going clear on the first attempt at 193 is a big help to your chances, and Morgan Lake has just given herself a big hand out there by going clear at 193. The first attempt. Excellent jump by the British athlete. So we had plenty of failures at other heights, even from some of these star names. But at the moment, everyone has been foot perfect so far over 193. Yulia Levchenko, let's hope it's not a commentator's curse, but she has had 5 first-time clearances from 174 all the way up to 190. This will be far trickier though. Her season's best is 194. This is her first try at 193 for Levchenko. And she's got it as well. Levchenko goes clear at the first attempt. She is on a roll tonight. Her 6th first-time clearance. And I'm glad I didn't curse her by giving her that build-up, but she stays perfect in the competition, Levchenko. And She is now very close to her season's best height. The next height will be season's best for her if she can go clear, 196. But first up, it's Eleanor Patterson. One of the big contenders here, the native of Victoria, which is a couple of hours. She's from a place that's a couple of hours from Melbourne. And I did mention she has relocated over the past year, now based herself primarily in Italy. And has changed her run-up there, as you can see, a standing approach now, 10-stride run-up. And she goes clear too at 193. So Eleanor Patterson joins the others, big smiles there. She had a little blip at 187. But as the heights get more serious, so apparently too do the athletes. Eleanor Patterson coasting over that 193, the first time of asking. And now Nicola Olieslagers, who has only had one jump so far, came in at 190, went clear. Let's see if she can keep this momentum going at 193, and then will very swiftly be moving to 196 if so. Olieslagers, first attempt 193, and she is the one in fact who knocks the bar at 193. So a little bit of a glitch, but given the way she's been jumping, we'd fully expect her to make the necessary adjustments and get over one of the next two attempts. So it was quite the surprise that of the 6 remaining athletes, Nicola Olieslagers was the only one, in fact, to knock the bar at 193. The other 5, Eleanor Patterson, Yulia Levchenko, Morgan Lake, Imka Onen and Buse Savaskan, all went clear at the first time of asking. Olieslagers, what is now a very familiar sight at major athletics meeting, takes to her notebook. She's devout in her Christian faith, and often she will have verses and quotes and lines of a religious nature in there to give her inspiration, and she speaks very openly about that as well. But some of it's more technical stuff. She does write about what she needs to change in her high jump, and you can just see the energy she brings to the runway. Optimistic, smiling, and that is exactly how she walks off the mat, having crashed over it at 193 with a second time clearance for Olieslagers. And you wouldn't have expected anything less there from an athlete of her accomplishments. 2-time world indoor champion, a world championship bronze medalist outdoors in Budapest in 2023, and of course 2 Olympic silver medals in both Paris and Tokyo. And she goes over 193 at the second time of asking and joins the other 5 athletes. The bar about to move to 196.
Obrovská radost z toho, že mu 6 závodnic šlo přes výšku 193, to je ta pozitivní emoce, a ta druhá je ten bankovní účet, ze kterého musí vyplácet ty prémie za skočenou výšku.
Ano, naštěstí přímo uměrná je i faktora pro moderátory za výšku překonanou závodnicemi. Takže těšíme se na to. Jednoduchá rovnice.
Máme to do plusu, ne naopak, jakože. Aha, dobře, já jsem prostě nebyl jistý. Přátelé, kamarádi, neježi, čiba běží.
So first up to try 196 will be Buse Savaskan of Turkey. Now she has already cleared a lifetime best this evening of 193. This would be out of this world for Savaskan. But she's clearly in the form of her life. The 26-year-old, as I mentioned, 10th in the Olympic final last year in Paris. She went out in qualification at the European Indoors earlier on this year, back in March in Apeldoorn. But a season's best and a lifetime best this evening at 193, 196 would be a huge, huge ask. And at least on the first attempt, she's not quite up to it. Next, to try 196 for the first attempt, Imke Onnen of Germany, competing for Cologne Athletics. She changed her club allegiance over the last year and said she has changed a lot with her setup, her coaching setup. She said she's significantly happier with things at the moment in an interview on the German Athletics Federation website recently. And here she is, 196 first attempt. Not to be there for Onnen, but she will have 2 more tries at that height, which she has been over already this month. But it's the kind of height that is a big, big challenge, no matter who your name is, what your name is, whether it's Jaroslava Mahučík, Nikola Olislagers, or indeed Imke Onnen. 196 is a tough, tough height. Next to try it will be Morgan Lake. This would be a season's best for Lake. Her previous best, 195, that was on the 10th of June. She's been jumping into 190s a lot of times this season. She jumped 194 all of 11 years ago to win the World Under-20 title. Here she is at 196. No joy there on the first attempt, unfortunately.
Nicméně Julia Levčenko skákala 6krát a 6krát na první pokus. 7. výška 196.
And you do get the impression that whoever goes over 196, if indeed any of these athletes do, is very likely to be the pivotal height here, because no one else in the field besides Nikola Olislagers has gone over a height higher than 197, so the next height after this will be 198. So whoever clears this first will have a huge upper hand over their rivals in the overall landscape of this competition. Yulia Levchenko, can she keep her perfect record going? Yes, she can! And Yulia Levchenko has roared back to form. That is the season's best. Her previous best this year was 194 from Doha. And I mentioned, after some rocky years where it looks like maybe she wasn't going to be able to fulfill her potential, Yulia Levchenko was creeping back up through the heights, through the 190s this season. And she has now moved on up to 196, a first-time clearance. That is her 7th first-time clearance this evening. It is an amazing competition so far for Yulia Levchenko. She has been foot perfect throughout, and she now leads. Next up, Eleanor Patterson, who has been over 197 already this year. She's done that a couple of times. Did it to finish runner-up to Olislagers at the Australian Championships back in April, I think that was. And indeed recently at the Paris Diamond League as well. Patterson now looking up at 196, and this height will be decisive in the overall shake-up of this competition. Can Patterson clear it at the first attempt? Yes, she can! Brilliant clearance by the Australian. A few nervous moments. The face said it all there as she stepped off the mat. I would imagine she was 50-50 as she looked up about whether that bar was still standing or was falling. But it was good news for Patterson. She goes clear at 196. First time of asking. Now, Nikola Olislagers. Can she go clear at the second time of asking at 196? And she's done it. Olislagers on her first attempt at 196 goes clear. A brilliant clearance there by the Australian. And this competition is very much heating up fast. Bušiš Savaskan will now take her second attempt at 196. We mentioned this will be very, very difficult for Savaskan, who has already set a PB this evening at the BRNŠNSKÁ LAťka. Her personal best of 193 added 1 centimeter to her previous best, and she's looking to add another 3 centimeters to that. Here, it'll be a big, big ask for Savaskan. And it's not quite there. It was a better attempt though, that time from Savaskan. But just couldn't quite execute. But either way, she will walk away from this competition very, very pleased indeed. Next up then, it's LAஅவங்க KA. Second attempt for her at 196. Getting the atmosphere going amongst the crowd, LAஅவங்க KA. She was a World University Games bronze medalist all the way back in 2019 and a world finalist as well that year. 4-time national champion in Germany. And no joy on the second attempt there for LAஅவங்க KA. So a third and final try will await for the 30-year-old at 196 to stay in this competition. And now it's over to Morgan Lake, who very much has the demeanour similar to Nicola Olislagers on the runway, just very much beaming positivity there. She looks up at that bar. And a few deep breaths and it will be time for Morgan Lake to attempt 196, the second time of asking. As I mentioned, this would be a season's best for the 28-year-old. It's not quite there for her on the second attempt, but one more try awaits for Morgan Lake at 196. Wait, 3 athletes have gone clear at this height: Nicola Olislagers, Eleanor Patterson and Yulia Levchenko. So we will have third attempts upcoming for Savaskan, Onen and Lake. First of them will be Savaskan, and it is a tight turnaround here. Not much time to gather your energies, and Bušiš Savaskan will really need all her energy here and perhaps more to go over 196 for the first time in competition. This would be a huge breakthrough on a night of breakthroughs already. She's already got that lifetime best of 193. Can she possibly go clear at 196? Third attempt for Bušiš Savaskan. That was a very good attempt. By far the best of her 3 attempts, but just ultimately didn't quite have the height. But nonetheless, it's been a breakthrough evening in Brno for Bušiš Savaskan, the Olympic finalist last year from Turkey. So she bows out, but despite that late failure, she will deem this evening a huge success. Now LAஅவங்க KA is under pressure to deliver here at 196. As I mentioned, she has been over this height. She's been over 197 earlier on this month on home turf in Essen. Third and final attempt upcoming for LAஅவங்க KA, which is a height just 1 centimeter shy of her personal best. But she needs this to join Olislagers, Patterson and Levchenko. And that was a very good attempt from LAஅவங்க KA, but ultimately frustration, but a bit of smiling frustration there. She doesn't look too disgusted. I think she was quite happy and proud to go over 193 at the first attempt, and ultimately couldn't quite find the height at 196. So LAஅவங்க KA bows out, and then there were 4. 3 of them are already clear at 196: Nicola Olislagers, Eleanor Patterson and Yulia Levchenko. And the 4th is Morgan Lake. Lake finished 4th at the World Championships in Budapest 2 years ago. She was also 4th at the World Indoors that year and 6th at the Worlds back in London in 2017. And of course, European under-20 champion and world under-20 champion. Can she get over this? She does! Morgan Lake pulls it out of the fire on the third attempt with a season's best of 196. Brilliant clearance by the Briton. 196. So 4 remain in the competition. Morgan Lake, Yulia Levchenko, Eleanor Patterson and Nikola Olislagers. They will now be progressing to 198.
Morgan Lake, Julia Levchenko a Eleanor Patterson. Tyto 3 závodnice se nám představí na 198 cm.
So this has become a brilliant competition. We expected it would be closely fought. There's often very little between these athletes, but Nikola Olislagers, who's been on a bit of a winning streak, winning her last 3 events. 2 of them were Diamond Leagues in Stockholm and Paris. One of them was the FBK Games, a Continental Tour Gold meeting in Hengelo. And I was actually talking to Nikola Olislagers there, and she was mentioning how she will soon be wrapping up the kind of European season. A lot of athletes, given the dates of the World Championships, 13th to the 21st of September, a lot of athletes treating this early part of the season almost like their indoor season, and they'll go back into base training. Distance runners will go back to altitude, and Nikola Olislagers was saying she'll be going back down under for a period in the middle of the European summer, and then just sort of going back to basics, going back to a training block, and beginning the long, slow build-up towards the peak event of the year, the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. So I mentioned 196 will be decisive. Perhaps a little surprising that all 4 athletes did go clear, but it has been a high-quality competition so far. And of course, given the class of Levchenko, Olislagers, Patterson and Lake, it shouldn't be a big surprise, but nonetheless, they are all delivering so far. Here we are, first try for Morgan Lake at 198. And that is a failure. No joy there, but she will have 2 more chances upcoming, and the way she cleared that bar at 196 suggests that 198 could be there for her again. But remember, it is only a centimetre off her lifetime best, which was set indoors in February 2023. Morgan Lake has never jumped 198 outdoors. Her outdoor PB 197. So next up, Yulia Levchenko, who is a 202 jumper at her best. That's now 6 years ago. She was only 21 when she jumped that. Was such a prodigious talent as a teenager. 2-time European under-23 champion. She was a world under-20 medalist 9 years ago. But she's still only 27, and she's jumping brilliantly tonight. First time clearance at every other height. It couldn't possibly continue, of course. But 198, that was a good attempt. And Yulia Levchenko, who's already got a big season's best this evening, 196, adding 2 centimetres to her season's best. She will have 2 more attempts upcoming at 198. Next up, Eleanor Patterson, first attempt for her at 198. This would be a season's best. She's been over 197 a couple of times already this season outdoors. Finished 2nd at the Australian Championships and 3rd recently at the Paris Diamond League, but the 2022 World Champion, who has clashed with these athletes at so many places around the world, and they all tend to be good friends, the jumpers. Certain kinship between them, but they're also competitive, and Eleanor Patterson would love to come out with a victory this evening, but this would prove essential. Clearance at 198, you feel, could be decisive for overall victory. Whoever of these 4 can get over it, Eleanor Patterson will be the second to try it. First try for the Australian at 198. So no joy there for Patterson, and now it will be just Nicola Olieslagers who will be next to attempt 198. Morgan Lake, Yulia Levchenko and Eleanor Patterson all recording first time failures.
Stále drží britský halový rekord ve skoku do výšky, což je bez pochyby národní maximum. Mimochodem získala 12 britských národních.
And it looks like Nicola Olieslagers might be passing, I think, at 198. She has indeed passed at 198, Nicola Olieslagers. So I mentioned earlier that Olieslagers had noted that she seems to jump very well and energetically in the first 5 jumps of a competition, but then she was talking about just working on the endurance and the muscular strength she needs to maintain those level of jumps. And Olieslagers had already put in 4 jumps so far, so she has decided her 5th will come at 2 meters instead of at 198. But now Morgan Lake, next up, second attempt for her at 198. Oh, that was very, very close. And you can see the frustration in her as she bounces up off that mat. And that is the frustration of an athlete who I think knew she had aligned many parts of that jump to get over that bar. But perhaps one small thing not quite right. And she brings it down. So 1 attempt left for Morgan Lake at 198. Yulia Levchenko of Ukraine will be next to try it, having already broken new ground this season with a 2 centimeter season's best of 196. Can she get over 198? This would be huge for Levchenko. And it was a good attempt by Levchenko, but it wasn't enough ultimately. But either way, you can see her smiling there as she walks away, watching the replay no doubt, and seeing if she can pick up anything to put to use in the 3rd attempt. But Yulia Levchenko, no joy there, and her 2nd try at 198. Next up will be Eleanor Patterson. She's got 1 failure recorded so far at 198. The 2022 world champion. She soared over 202 back then that summer. And she's been a fixture at the top level ever since. She won world silver in 2023 in Budapest. She's a couple of world indoor silvers as well from 2022 and 2025. And of course an Olympic bronze medal last year in Paris for Eleanor Patterson. But right now the only bar that matters to her is set to 198. And if she could go clear at 198, she would go a long way to contending for victory in this competition. Oh, it was a very, very close attempt there by Eleanor Patterson. That was not very far away at all from for Patterson. It would have been a season's best. Her current season's best is 197, but she will have one last attempt to get it. And now we're now down to round 3 at 198. So 3 athletes will make their 3rd attempts at 198. The first of them will be Morgan Lake, followed by Yulia Levchenko and Eleanor Patterson. And a reminder that Nicola Olieslagers has passed 198. She will re-enter the competition at 2 meters. And who knows if there will be anyone left standing. As things stand, Yulia Levchenko is leading the competition with Olieslagers and Patterson tied for 2nd. Morgan Lake is currently 4th. She needs this to move up, and she doesn't get it. So Morgan Lake bows out of the competition, but it has nonetheless been a very, very good competition for the 28-year-old British jumper. A season's best of 196. and she will finish in 4th. And then there were 3. Yulia Levchenko of Ukraine and the Australian duo Nicola Olislagers and Eleanor Patterson. The bar is set to 196 and Yulia Levchenko looks up at it for her 3rd and final attempt. Having already set a season's best this evening at 196, Levchenko will now attempt to soar even higher, 198. This would be a huge breakthrough on this year for Levchenko, who has been over 202 at her best, but she's had her struggles in recent years. Can she go clear here? 3rd attempt for Levchenko, 198. And she's got it! Yulia Levchenko goes clear at 198 to put a firm grip on this competition. Nicola Olislagers may have something to say about that, but Yulia Levchenko of Ukraine goes over 198 to really re-establish herself amongst the world's true elite of female high jumping. A brilliant, brilliant clearance by Yulia Levchenko. Next up, Eleanor Patterson.
Co Eleanor Patterson? Zařadí se mezi ty 3, které uvidíme ještě na té další výšce, tedy na 2 metrech? Dost se necháme překvapit.
Now Patterson has been over 197 at her best this year. Of course, she's cleared 202 at her very best back in 2022. She's consistently jumping in the mid to high 190s, Patterson. And to join Nicola Olislagers and Yulia Levchenko at the next height, which will be 2 meters, Patterson needs this at 198, having gone over 196 the first attempt. She's now down to 1 remaining attempt at 198. And it was so close, but not quite there on the night, unfortunately, for Eleanor Patterson, who bows out of the competition with a best of 196. She is currently tied for 2nd place with Nicola Olislagers, so that will be decided based on how Olislagers goes at the final height, or the next height I should say, 2 meters. Who knows how high we'll actually end up with tonight. But that is the story so far, you would have to say, is Yulia Levchenko, who has really re-established herself here. As I mentioned, she had a tough few years really since her peak years. Now you think back to 2017, she won the world silver medal. She won European indoor medals in 2017, 2019. She was 8th in the Olympics back in 2021. 4th at the World Championships in 2019. But she's had a few issues, of course, and as indeed so many Ukrainian elite athletes has just had their worlds and their routines turned upside down over the last 3 years. And Yulia Levchenko is one who's spoken very openly and very courageously about that situation in her hometown, even posting just recently on social media when she was in Stockholm that all she really wants is peaceful skies at home too. Based in Kiev when she's back at home, and indeed her talent was spotted in Kiev as a child. She was playing football, and it was one of her teachers who noticed her athletic ability and decided to try her out for athletics. And sure enough, she had an amazing jumping ability which has been refined over the years. And here she is, having cleared 198, a huge season's best for Levchenko, adding 4 centimeters to her season's best. It's the first time since summer of 2023 she's cleared 198. And if you go back before 2023, you have to go all the way back to 2020 before Yulia Levchenko went over 198 or higher. So it's a huge breakthrough evening once again. And brilliant to see Yulia Levchenko back jumping close to her best. Here she is, first try at 2 meters. And that would have been truly seismic if she got over that at the first attempt. but she opts out, and good to see her fully smiling there as well, staying upbeat, because she knows even if it's 3 quick failures at 2 meters, this will be a brilliant night for her. 198, clears it at the 3rd attempt, and she still leads the competition. But this woman may have a lot to say about that. Nicola Ollislagers is in such a good duel at global level with Jaroslava Mahuchik. They tend to trade blows metaphorically on the high jump runways at places around the world in various championships. And if either of them is missing, you tend to favour and you tend to be the automatic pick for every high jump competition, whichever of them does show up. And many people will have thought Nicola Ollislagers would be the overwhelming favourite to take victory tonight. But she's currently trailing due to that first time failure at 193. Here she is, first time at 2 meters for Nicola Ollislagers. No joy on that first attempt. So the bar stays put at 2 meters. It's time for a little rest for Yulia Levchenko. They'll be given a couple of minutes, but not too long, no doubt. And she will be next to attempt 2 meters. And it's very interesting just to see the order at the moment, even though because Nicola Ollislagers passed at 198, she is of course behind. Her best currently 196, but if she goes clear at 2 meters, even if Levchenko goes clear, she will then be in front. Due to the number of failures they've had, Ollislagers with 1 failure so far, Levchenko with 2.
No, nebudeme předbíhat. Zkrátka dobře, je před námi velmi zajímavé finále a velmi zajímavý konec, který bude za malý moment, tedy konec 29. ročníku brněnské laťky Olympia. Příští rok bude kolo 30. Jaké to se necháme překvapit, ale to 29. určitě vstoupí do historie, protože aby bylo na 190
So, trying to harness the momentum of what's been a brilliant evening so far in Brno for Yulia Levchenko. She is about to take her 2nd attempt at 2 meters. The last time Yulia Levchenko cleared 2 meters was 5 years ago. So this would be really seismic for the 27-year-old Ukrainian if she could get over it tonight in Brno. And that was a better attempt. 2nd attempt was certainly better. And she'll know that. Didn't quite ultimately have the height to get over that. But Nicola Ollislagers is next up.
Letos má 2krát skočeno 201 v Austrálii a ve Švédsku.
Mentioned earlier how she spoke recently about how her first 5 jumps of the competition tend to be very strong, and then she just felt she's losing a little bit of energy or strength later on, so she's used her energy quite sparingly this evening, coming in at 190. She's so far taken 5 attempts. This will be her 6th, and she does need to go over 2 meters to win this competition. She's currently tied for 2nd with Eleanor Patterson, both going clear at 196. Can Nicola Ollislagers go clear? 2nd attempt at 2 meters. She can't. And it's now down to a pressure jump for each of them. Not quite there for Ollislagers. She's got 1 more attempt to set things right and take victory at the BRNŠNSKÁ LAťka 2025. Next up will be Yulia Levchenko, who is still in command of the competition. That brilliant, brilliant third time clearance at 198. LAvchenko was a world under 20 bronze medalist all the way back in 2016. She has, despite being a relatively youthful 27-year-old, she has been pretty much at the top level of this sport for 10 years or so now. This will be her 10th season really at that top level, jumping well into the 190s. She was 8th in the Olympic final back in Tokyo. Two-time European under-23 champion. But she has at times in the last 4 or 5 years struggled to relive the glory and the heights she was clearing in her early 20s. But here she is, Yulia LAvchenko, very much back, announcing herself amongst the world's true elite. Third and final attempt for LAvchenko at 2 meters. And that was a very, very good attempt for LAvchenko. The best of her 3 attempts, I think. But she still, for now, leads the competition with that huge season's best clearance. She has added 4 centimeters to her season's best this evening in Brno. 198 clearance at the 3rd attempt, and no surprise to see she is all smiles after going clear of a huge season's best. First time she's jumped 198 in 2 years. And she's jumped it very, very few times over the last 4 to 5 years. So a brilliant night's work. But will it be first or will it be second? It all comes down to this jump. If Nicola Olieslagers goes clear at 2 meters, she is the champion. If not, it's Yulia LAvchenko. So the calm before the storm, and Nicola Olieslagers closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, thinks the most positive thoughts, and with the atmosphere building, she shouts and takes off. 3rd and final attempt for Olieslagers at 2 meters. And she's done it! Nicola Olieslagers produces the goods when the pressure is on, and that's why she's a champion. 2 meter clearance, over she goes at the 3rd and final attempt. Clutch jumping from the Australian. And I'm sure that despite being demoted to 2nd, Yulia LAvchenko will still walk away very, very content with her night's work. But that has sealed victory. It could be the last jump of the competition. And as is always her routine, Olieslagers goes to her notebook, starts writing. And wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall and just know what exactly she's putting in there after that clearance? But she takes those notebooks and reviews them all, and very much a thinker of her event, thinks through the details of it and just how she can improve, and what a career she has put together, the 28-year-old. Has a lifetime best of 2:03, and she is very close to her season's best with that clearance. She jumped 2:01 in Stockholm to take victory, the Diamond League there recently. But a 2 meter clearance this evening, and once again the BRNŠNSKÁ LAťka Olympia meet has produced quality jumping. Olieslagers, of course, did win at this same event back in 2023. Cleared 199 there, but a 2 meter clearance and a great night's work. And next, the height. The natural height progression was due to be 2:02, but of course, now that she's the only one left, Olieslagers can... She's just telling the official where to put the bar. And it'll be very interesting to see where she has put it. The meeting record is 2:03 by her great rival Jaroslava Mahučík. Mahučík and Olieslagers are two of the nicest athletes you could possibly meet. Two of the most polite, kind, and always very generous with their time in the mixed zone. Really are great ambassadors for the event. And Olieslagers just getting a snack, and that's a sure sign the spikes are not coming off. Olieslagers will continue jumping. So with victory sealed, it'll be very interesting to see exactly where this bar is being put to. It's going to at least 202 anyway, and 204 it's been put to. So this would be a personal best for Nikola Olislagers. And you can see there, they're not small men who are standing beside that bar. It really does contextualize just how difficult it is, just how high these women are jumping. It is truly remarkable. So first attempt of a possible 3 for Nikola Olislagers. Her personal best of 2:03 was cleared at the Eugene Diamond League back in 2023. It was an Oceanian record, and she has now put the bar to 2:04. Victory is sealed. Can Olislagers make a very, very good night, an incredibly memorable night if she were to go over 2:04 would be a lifetime best for the 28-year-old Australian. She's been over 2 meters a few times already this year. She jumped 2:01 to win the Australian title back in April. 2:01 again to win at the Stockholm Diamond League, and 2 meters the other night. And both in Stockholm and Paris she put the bar to 2:03 after victory was secured. Here it's gone to 2:04, lifetime best, first try for Nikola Olislagers. Not quite to be on that one, but she'll have 2 more tries if she chooses to take them at 2:04. She has Croatian roots as Olislagers, so not a million miles away from this part of the world in Brno. She studied biochemistry at the University of Sydney and got into athletics similar to LAongKA at the age of around 7 or 8 in school. And has had the same coach, Matt Horsnell, since the age of 10. And you love to see when the athletes stick with their childhood coach in that manner, take them through to senior levels, and many of the achievements she has accomplished in recent years. As I mentioned, 2 Olympic silver medalists in Paris and Tokyo, World Championship bronze medal in Oregon in 2023. And of course 2 world indoor titles in 2024, that was in Glasgow, and then this year in Nanjing, China. And I mentioned she will be returning down under over the next month, and kind of mid-season really, to just put in another training block. She has been competing a lot. The Australians of course have their outdoor season kind of overlapping with the European indoor season through February, March. Olislagers opened her year at the World Indoors in Nanjing with a 197 clearance to take victory. She went and won the Australian title the following month in April. She was competing at the 2 Diamond Leagues in China then through April and May. And then currently on her European tour, victory in Hengelo, victory in Stockholm, victory in Paris, and now victory in Brno, with a clearance of 2 meters. Can she go clear at 2:04? Not quite there for her. You could see it was Charity Huffnagel in the background there. The US jumper was just getting just as excited for Olislagers as she was for her own jumps, cheering on. And that was, as I said, that kinship, that friendship we talked about earlier amongst so many of the jumpers. They are true friends. They share meals together, they share shuttle buses, and they share planes, trains and automobiles as they traverse the world at the top level meetings. And it's great to see them lending each other their support.
Každý pokus kariéry, který pak vyhodnocuje v tom.
So, one chance left at 2:04 for Nicola Olieslagers. And I mentioned there's probably two reasons she has put the bar to 2:04. One of them is that her personal best is 2:03, and another is that the meeting record is 2:03, held by Jaroslava Mahučík. So, Olieslagers could break the meeting record and her personal best in one fell swoop if she could hoist herself over 2:04, but that's a lot easier said than done. 2:04 is such a difficult height. There's been many world titles and global titles won in recent years and over the years in the high 190s. And having cleared 2 meters at the first attempt, Olieslagers is now hoping to go over 2:04, a lifetime best. The world lead stands to Jaroslava Mahučík at 2:02, so this would also be a world lead if Olieslagers can go over it. It would be a big season's best, and it would be a personal best by 1 centimetre, and indeed a meeting record. Third and final attempt at 2:04 for Olieslagers. Oh, it was a close one. It was a very good attempt, but as it unfortunately so often has to end, it ends with a failure for Nicola Olieslagers, but the night has been anything but a failure. She keeps that winning streak going, 4 competitions in a row now on either the World Athletics Continental Tour or at Diamond League level. And Nicola Olieslagers has had a very, very successful European tour so far before she heads back down under next month. And it is another victory that she pulled out of the fire really this evening. The third and final attempt at 2 meters. She had the goods when it mattered most and when the pressure was on. Once again, the Australian delivers. 2 meters for Nicola Olieslagers. She takes victory, and the notebook is swiftly picked up, and that'll be a very happy entry, no doubt, put in the moments ahead as she awaits the victory ceremony. It is confirmation of the results. Nicola Olieslagers of Australia takes victory at the BRNŠKÁ LAťka 2025 with a clearance of 2 meters. In second place, a big breakthrough night for Yulia Levchenko, who has smashed her season's best, adds 4 centimeters to her season's best, clears 198 on the third and final attempt. She takes second. Back in third, rounding out the podium then, it'll be Eleanor Patterson of Australia, the 2022 world champion. She cleared a best of 196 to take third. She beats Morgan Lake on countback. Morgan Lake of Great Britain and Northern Ireland went over 196 at the third and final attempt.
Pomyslnou vstupenku na tribunu za 100 korun a ten jeden z vás také pojede zcela určitě na desetiní do Jihoafrické republiky ke Kapskému městu, kde bude mít na desetiní k dispozici komplet celý apartmán. Tak, počkáme na čibu, nezdařila, než dá...
So it's been another very memorable edition of the BRNŠKÁ LAťka Olympia 2025 meeting, the 29th edition of this meeting, which is now of course a World Athletics Continental Tour silver meeting. Just a few presentations to go. Nicola Olieslagers will be writing keenly in that journal that she carries everywhere with her, and then she'll be stepping up to receive her prize. But confirmation of the result in this elite women's competition. Nicola Olieslagers takes victory with 2 meter clearance. Brilliant stuff from the Australian. Yulia Levchenko with a season's best in second of 198, and then it was the second Australian, Eleanor Patterson, back in third with 196, just edging Morgan Lake on countback to third position. But that's just about it from me, from Cathal Dennehy. Big thanks to all of you for joining us over the last couple of hours, and a reminder So stay tuned to the European Athletics website and indeed social media channels. Lots more events will be streamed from around the World Athletics Continental Tour in the weeks and indeed months ahead on the build-up to the World Championships in Tokyo in September. But from me, for now, it's goodbye.
Určitě 100% půjde za hranice České republiky, protože byla tady elita a ta elita ten elitní výkon opravdu předvedla.